What I am is an accident. I've been placed in an orbit, and I have to stay there and just be. All of a sudden, they put a label on you, and you're Delon.
Alain Delon's final words were terrifying. In the golden era of French cinema, Alain Delon rose as the quintessential heartthrob, enchanting audiences across the globe with his charismatic presence and stunning good looks throughout the 1960s and 70s. Delon's allure became synonymous with the romantic image of France itself, propelling him to the heights of international stardom. No, I was not supposed to be an actor, by the way. I didn't know what I was going to do. Now, at the age of 88, Delon has passed away, embracing a life of quiet solitude on his secluded property outside Paris. Far removed from the flashing cameras and fervent fans, he peacefully passed in his sleep. But what was the true cause behind this? And what were his final words? Well, we'll get into that after we learn who Alain Delon truly was. The life Alain Delon kept in the shadows. Though widely known for his film career and magnetic presence, Delon's personal life harbors a less discussed chapter. His son, Christian Aron Boulogne, born from a fleeting love affair, unlike his three recognized children Anthony, Anouchka, and Alain Fabien, remains an overlooked figure absent from Delon's official life story. Anthony Delon came from Alain's marriage to actress Nathalie Delon, a relationship that shimmered briefly and dissolved within 4 years. Later, his companionship with Dutch model Rosalie van Braam gave him 2 more children. However, it was his clandestine liaison with Nico, a German singer and model celebrated as Andy Warhol's muse, that produced another heir, Christian. The affair between Delon and Nico was intense but brief, igniting during a film project where Delon, smitten by Nico's enigmatic beauty, pursued her relentlessly. Their connection lasted only a few months, but it was long enough for Nico to conceive. Born in August 1962, Christian's entry into the world was shadowed by controversy. Delon, doubting paternity, refused to acknowledge him officially, leaving Nico to raise their son alone. Nico's life, marked by fame and artistic achievement, spiraled into hardship, struggling financially and battling addiction. She reached out to Delon's mother, Edith Boulogne, for help. With a heavy heart, Edith took in the young Christian, allowing him to be adopted by her second husband, Paul, to prevent Christian from becoming Alain's legal brother. This arrangement strained the family, leading to a rupture between Alain and his mother that lasted 17 years. Christian's childhood was marked by sporadic visits from his mother and no relationship with Delon. The rare interaction he had with his father was during a visit to his ailing grandmother. In a telling moment, as recounted in Christian's 2001 memoir, Delon invited him into his car, acknowledged him briefly, but firmly denied paternity, severing any fatherly ties. Growing up in the periphery of Delon's stardom, Christian's adolescence was tumultuous. Reunited with his mother, he descended into drug use, mirroring her struggles. The streets became his refuge as he battled addiction and poverty. However, resilience surfaced, and Christian sought help, striving towards sobriety and a stable life. Christian lived in France, a father himself to a son named Charlie, born in 1994. His life, though shadowed by his past and the specter of his famous father, has found a semblance of peace. The loss of his mother, Nico, in a tragic accident in 1988, remains a poignant chapter in his story. But Christian's journey reflects a narrative of survival and quiet defiance against the odds imposed by heritage and circumstance. Alain Delon, now an aging icon, remains distanced from this part of his legacy. His life and career continue to be celebrated, yet the story of Christian Aron Boulogne persists as a silent testament to the complex human dramas that often unfold away from the limelight. As Delon lives out his reclusive existence, the echoes of his choices resonate, shaping the lives touched by his actions, for better or worse. Shaved heads and stolen jeeps. Alain Delon was born on November 8, 1935, in a modest neighborhood just outside Paris. His early life took a turn when his parents divorced in 1939, leading to him being raised by foster parents. These caretakers sent him to various Catholic boarding schools, but Delon didn't fit in. Known for breaking the rules, he was expelled from every school he attended. By the age of 14, he had abandoned his formal education to work in his stepfather's butcher shop. At 17, Seeking something more from life, Delon enlisted in the French Navy. His time in the military, stationed in Saigon during the First Indochina War, was as chaotic as his school days. Delon's military career was marked by repeated disciplinary issues, leading to multiple stints in jail. He humorously recalls that each time a soldier was jailed, their head was shaved as a mark of disobedience. Over his 4.5 years of service, Delon had his head shaved 5 times, corresponding to his 11 months behind bars. He later joked that his preference for long hair was a way to compensate for those days of forced haircuts. His misadventures in the Navy highlighted a clear message: military life was not for him. After being discharged from the Navy, Delon returned to Paris with little to his name. In an interview from 1962, he described those days with a mix of nostalgia and hardship. He had almost no money, lived off cheap hot dogs, and occasionally had nowhere to sleep. His life was a far cry from the glamour and stability that many might have envisioned for someone of his later stature. During these tough times, Delon's experiences shaped his resilience and his distinctive stoic character that would later become his trademark on the silver screen. Each hardship seemed to fortify his resolve. This phase of his life was crucial in molding the enigmatic and tough persona he carried into his acting career, where he would later become one of France's most celebrated actors. How did Delon turn a chance trip into stardom? Alain Delon, far from the glittering allure of movie stardom, was contentedly navigating life in Paris with his old army buddies in 1957, working various small jobs, scraping by without any grand ambitions for the future. Around this time, he befriended budding actors Brigitte Aubert and Jean-Claude Brialy. This new circle of friends introduced him to a world he hadn't considered before: the cinematic arts. They invited him to the glamorous Cannes Film Festival, where his life took a pivotal turn. At Cannes, Delon met film director Yves Allégret, who saw potential in the charismatic young man. Delon's striking appearance also caught the eye of Henry Wilson, a renowned talent agent known for discovering Hollywood's leading men, like Rock Hudson. Impressed by Delon's good looks and presence, Wilson introduced him to David O. Selznick, a prominent producer known for classics like Gone with the Wind. Selznick was quick to offer Delon a lucrative 7-year contract, which included a stipulation to polish his English skills. However, Delon faced a critical decision. The reasons behind his choice to decline Hollywood's call are varied and intriguing. Some sources suggest Allégret advised him to stay in France, promising greater fame there. Others speculate about personal struggles with English, or even a romantic entanglement with Allégret's wife influencing his decision. Regardless, Allégret's name consistently appears in discussions about this significant phase of Delon's career. Delon's entry into acting was as serendipitous as it was reluctant. Post-Navy, with no clear path ahead, Delon was introduced by friends to the film industry. Allégret was urgently looking for a fresh face for his upcoming film and believed Delon fit the bill perfectly as a young, rough-hewn character. Despite having no acting experience or interest, Delon found himself agreeing to take the part just to please Allégret, who was insistent. This decision marked the beginning of his acting career with the film Send a Woman When the Devil Fails, which turned out to be a modest success. Delon's breakthrough came with his next roles, particularly in Christine, alongside the renowned German actress Romy Schneider. The public and media were captivated not only by his performance, but also by his off-screen romance with Schneider, which he considered the love of his life. This pairing sparked widespread fascination and kept gossip columns busy for years. Building on this momentum, Delon starred in the romantic comedy Women Are Weak in 1959, which was a hit in France and solidified his reputation as a matinee idol. Meanwhile, the iconic French director René Clément was planning a film adaptation of Patricia Highsmith's novel, The Talented Mr. Ripley, portraying the chilling tale of Tom Ripley, a young man entangled in deceit, identity theft, and murder to maintain a lavish lifestyle. The production of this film, later titled Purple Noon, came at a time when Delon was struggling to remain relevant amidst the burgeoning French New Wave. Eager to demonstrate his adaptability, Delon incorporated new wave elements by hiring key personnel from the movement. Despite initial reservations about Delon, whom he viewed in the light-hearted Women Are Weak Clément was persuaded to audition him for the role of Ripley's wealthy friend, Greenleaf. However, during their meeting, Delon expressed a strong interest in playing Ripley instead, displaying a boldness that took everyone by surprise. Supported unexpectedly by Clément's wife, who saw something special in Delon, he was eventually cast as Ripley, a role that perfectly showcased his ability to portray complex, multifaceted characters. Purple Noon was not only a critical success, but also a commercial hit that catapulted Delon into international stardom. His portrayal of Ripley was unsettling yet captivating, embodying a dangerous charm that made audiences root for him despite his heinous actions. Delon's Ripley was a study in contradictions, charismatic yet chilling, alluring yet alarming. This performance revealed his profound versatility and marked a turning point in his career, highlighting his capacity to delve into darker, more psychologically intense roles. More than just a pretty face, René Clément, a director already acclaimed for his discerning cinematic eye, recognized something exceptional in Alain Delon during the filming of Purple Noon. Initially unsure of Delon's capabilities, Clément soon discovered that the young actor had an almost boundless range. As described by film historian Denise Bayer in a 2012 Criterion Collection interview, Delon displayed not just a strong dramatic flair, but also a nuanced and complex ability that spanned comedy and ambiguous roles. Even Patricia Highsmith, the author of the novel from which Purple Noon was adapted, and known for her critical views on adaptations, approved of Delon's portrayal of her character. Delon's physical attractiveness undoubtedly contributed to the film's success both in France and internationally. Scholars have noted that Delon's portrayal marked one of the first instances of a male hero being visually emphasized in cinema, often appearing bare-chested in promotional materials. However, it was not just his looks that captivated audiences, but the synergy of his acting skills, the daring direction of Clément, and the complex character he embodied that cemented his stardom. Bayer pointed out a pivotal scene in Purple Noon. After being humiliated, Ripley, played by Delon, strips off his shirt and takes control of the yacht, symbolizing his transformation from a subordinate figure to a dominant one. This moment is widely regarded as the turning point when Delon's star truly began to rise. Riding the wave of this success, Delon took on another challenging role the same year in Luchino Visconti's Rocco and His Brothers. Here, he played Rocco, a character polar opposite to Tom Ripley, showcasing his ability to dive into diverse roles. This film further solidified his reputation, affirming 1960 as a defining year in his career. Alain Delon's influence on style, fashion, and pop culture is profound and extensive, a topic that could easily fill volumes of scholarly discussion and multimedia exploration. Delon's iconic status in Europe and Asia is well documented, yet his impact in the United States tells a different story. During the mid-1960s, Delon collaborated with MGM on various projects, all filmed in Europe, where the studio was hopeful about leveraging his star power. Despite these efforts, Delon failed to resonate with American audiences as he had with those abroad. Experts have offered numerous theories regarding Delon's limited appeal in the US. Some argue that his aesthetic did not align with mainstream American tastes, while others point to his proficiency in English, which, although adequate, might not have met the expectations of an American audience. However, a closer examination of his roles during this period suggests that MGM may not have fully utilized Delon's acting capabilities, often casting him in minor roles within large ensemble casts or as the quintessential Latin lover, which did little to showcase his versatility. For example, his part in the 1964 film The Yellow Rolls-Royce was particularly undemanding, relegating him to the background as a decorative figure rather than a substantive character. Despite some memorable performances in English-language films, none could match the critical acclaim of his European work. After an unfulfilling stint in Hollywood, Delon returned to France in the early 1970s, continuing to thrive in the European cinema scene. However, his career was soon overshadowed by the Markovitch affair, a scandal that erupted in 1968 and dramatically altered his life and public image. The affair began with the discovery of Stevan Markovich's body in a dump west of Paris on October 1, 1968. Markovich, a young Yugoslav, had served as Delon's private secretary and bodyguard, a link Delon initially denied. The media frenzy that ensued not only scrutinized Delon's personal life, but also exposed his alleged connections to European underworld figures and scandalous activities within elite Parisian circles. The roots of the affair trace back to 1962, when Delon was in Belgrade for a film project and met Nikola Milinkovic, also known as Milo Milos, a Serbian gangster. Milos later became Delon's bodyguard and introduced him to Natalie, who would become Delon's wife. Milo's departure for Hollywood led Delon to hire Stevan Markovic, remembered in Belgrade as a formidable street fighter and petty criminal. As Delon and Markovic's relationship deepened, Markovic indulged in a lavish lifestyle marked by gambling and extravagant parties that were rumored to involve some of France's most influential figures. Allegations surfaced that Markovic was steeped in debt and possibly engaged in an affair with Natalie. Furthermore, it was rumored that he was blackmailing guests with compromising photographs taken at these parties, which reportedly included images of Delon in potentially damaging scenarios. The discovery of Markovic's body and subsequent investigations cast a long shadow over Delon's career. Under pressure, Delon's initial denials crumbled when a letter from Markovic's brother surfaced, implicating Delon in potential foul play. The ensuing scandal, filled with theories of motives tied to compromising photographs, threatened to tarnish Delon's image as a beloved sex symbol. Markovic, a known associate of Delon's and suspected gangster, was arrested but later released due to insufficient evidence. The Markovic affair not only subjected Delon to intense legal scrutiny, but also sparked widespread speculation about his personal life and relationships, including debates over his sexuality. This period of Delon's life highlights the complex ways in which celebrity, crime, and media interact to shape and sometimes distort public perception. This scandal remains one of the most enduring and unresolved mysteries in French history, epitomizing the intricate and often perilous nexus between stardom and scandal, balancing artistry and infamy. Instead of retreating from the spotlight, Delon tackled his challenges head-on with remarkable resilience. He managed to pivot his notoriety into an asset for his acting career. As the 1970s dawned, Delon embraced roles that aligned closely with the edgy, more controversial aspects of his personal saga. He starred in a series of gangster-themed films, including Jean-Pierre Melville's Le Samouraï, where he played a ruthless criminal. This role, among others during this period, not only captivated his fans, but also proved to be significant commercial successes. Delon's films like Borsalino, co-starring with Jean-Paul Belmondo, broke box office records and became one of the year's most watched movies in France. These roles likely benefited from the ongoing media frenzy around the Markovic affair, as the public's fascination with Delon's real-life drama translated into movie ticket sales. Despite being mired in controversy, Delon demonstrated a unique ability to win back the public's favor through his film work. In a sense, the scandal that could have derailed his career instead amplified his fame, showcasing a peculiar phenomenon where notoriety can bolster rather than break a public figure. In America, such events often enhance a celebrity's fame, but Delon noted that in Europe, the outcome could have been drastically different. It could have ended his career. Yet, through strategic engagement with his audience, particularly through candid discussions and interviews conducted in his native French, Delon managed to regain public support. As the decade progressed, however, Delon faced what many consider the decline phase of his career. Despite a strong start to the 1970s, by the late part of the decade, his star began to wane. He took more control over his projects by founding his own production company, which allowed him to make crucial decisions regarding casting and the filmmaking process. Critics, however, noted that Delon's insistence on casting himself as the sole star and his reluctance to collaborate with emerging talents isolated him from new cinematic movements. His films during this period were often seen as repetitive and failed to resonate with an audience craving innovation. Nonetheless, there were highlights during these later years, such as his acclaimed performance in Mr. Klein in 1976 and winning the César Award for Best Actor in 1985 for his role in Notre Histoire. These successes underscored his enduring talent, even if they were exceptions in a generally declining career trajectory. Alain Delon, a name synonymous with French cinema led a life as colorful and tumultuous as the roles he portrayed on screen. Rising to stardom in the 1960s, Delon's sharp features, magnetic presence, and versatile acting quickly made him an icon. His performances in films such as Le Samouraï, Purple Noon, and Rocco and His Brothers solidified his status as one of Europe's most celebrated actors. However, alongside his cinematic achievements, Delon's personal life and political views often drew as much attention and controversy as his film roles. Throughout his life, Delon was no stranger to scandal. His relationships were as high-profile as they were stormy, involving a series of famous actresses and models, each romance eagerly followed by the media. Yet, it was not just his romantic life that kept him in the headlines. Delon's connections to organized crime figures, as well as his involvement in the unsolved murder case of his former bodyguard, Stevan Markovic, cast a long shadow over his career. Although Delon was never formally charged, the incident added to the aura of danger and mystique that surrounded him. As Delon aged, his off-screen life continued to provoke debate. The 2019 Cannes Film Festival became a flashpoint when Delon was awarded an honorary Palme d'Or, a recognition of his contribution to cinema. The timing of the award, however, could not have been more contentious. The festival took place amidst the global Me Too movement, which was reshaping the way society viewed and responded to allegations of misconduct by public figures. Delon's past comments and alleged behaviors, including his support for France's far-right National Front Party and his controversial views on same-sex adoption, were thrust into the spotlight. Critics argued that honoring him was at odds with the progressive values the industry was beginning to embrace. An online petition demanding the revocation of Delon's honorary Palme d'Or gained significant traction, amassing 26,000 signatures. The petition highlighted a broader cultural clash, the tension between celebrating an artist's professional achievements and holding them accountable for their personal actions. Cannes, however, proceeded with the award, underscoring the festival's long-standing tradition of separating the art from the artist. Despite the uproar, Delon remained a polarizing yet defended figure. His supporters argued that his personal views and actions, while controversial, should be understood within the context of his time and personal experiences. They pointed to his deep and influential relationships with progressive figures like the openly gay Italian director Luchino Visconti, and his professional choices, such as working with blacklisted directors during the McCarthy era, as evidence of a more nuanced legacy. These defenders saw Delon as a man whose life and career embodied the complexities and contradictions of the 20th century celebrity. In the final chapters of his life, Delon withdrew from the public eye, his health declining after suffering a stroke. Yet, even in his absence, the debates surrounding his legacy persisted. Alain Delon's story is not merely one of cinematic triumphs, but also of the enduring discourse on the impact of a public figure's personal life on their professional legacy. His ability to navigate through scandals, coupled with his towering professional successes and occasional failures, paints a picture of a man who continually captivated public attention, whether in admiration or in criticism. As the world reflects on Delon's life and career, it is clear that his influence on cinema is indelible. Yet so too is the discussion about the intersection of art, personal conduct, and public memory. Alain Delon will be remembered not only for the films he made, but for the complex legacy he leaves behind, a legacy that will continue to spark debate long after his passing. Rest in peace, Alain Delon. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to subscribe.